Hello, everyone, and welcome to the National Inventor Club. June 2023 and the first day of summer. Doesn't necessarily feel like summer out there yet. I am wearing my short sleeve polo, so I'm feeling it, but the weather's just not quite there yet here in New York. But everywhere else, I hope that you're staying warm and enjoying the first day of summer. I'm very excited about our guest tonight. We have members and executives from GS1 US, which is the go-to organization throughout the world to obtain official and trusted barcodes. Very interesting information from them. Look, we're always innovating, and we just continue to evolve our inventions and our ideas, and that's what companies do too. And we're going to find out inside information, if that's what you want to call it, but it is public, to know what they're up to and how they're advancing their business with barcodes that is practically on every single product that you buy. So we're going to find out more information about innovation and continuing to innovate in a company, and they're going to relate it to us as inventors. Very interesting. I also want to make a quiet, just kind of confidential announcement. I know we're on the live stream here. I'm really excited about a new app that I just came out with that is going to include National Inventor Club. It's called Inventor Smart Community. And you can go on the app stores, Apple App Store, or you can go on Google Play and you can download Inventor Smart Community. And you can check out what's going on there soon. National Inventor Club is going to be rolled up into the app where you're going to be able to watch National Inventor Club from the app. So stay tuned. If you'd like to download it and take a sneak peek, it is actually working and it's a soft launch right now. I'm going to make an official launch soon, but it'll be really good. I'm very excited about it. And if you'd like to take a look, download it on the App Store. If you wanted not to download it on the App Store and if you wanted to check it out, you can go on to app.inventorsmart.com. So take a look when you have a chance and you'll find out more information soon if you're on the mailing list. And obviously, if we keep in touch on social media. All right. Next, let's get Janet Grongola. She is from the US Patent and Trademark Office. I know she has a couple official titles. I know she's a chief judge for the Patent and Trademark PTAB, which is the Patent Trial. Go ahead, Janet.
And appeal board.
An appeal board. Patent Trial and Appeal Board. And she's very active in the inventor community. She's also very active with National Inventor Club. And Janet, we love to have people and members like yourself come on to National Inventor Club and give us some tips, advice, information, events, and please give us as much as you can because we need it.
Thank you very much, Brian, for that super warm welcome. I'm so delighted to be with you again this evening. I love National Inventor Club. I love attending your meetings. Congratulations to Brian for the soft launch of his new app, Inventor Smart Community. As soon as my presentation's done, I'm running off to the App Store to check it out. I hope all of you will too. Tonight, what I have in store for you is to talk about events that are happening at the USPTO that are free. I thought that it would be a good time because we have a variety of classes that are starting at ground zero, and I wanted to share them with you. So hopefully you can all see my screen. I'm sharing my slides. Do you see a slide that says we're listening?
Not yet. We see the first USPTO slide, Janet. So I think you just need to start that, the slideshow.
Unfortunately, on my screen, it has started. Let me try this again.
Yeah, let's try it one more time. We do see it up on the screen, but it's just not the first slide. Well, while Janet's doing that, for those of you who have not visited the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office website, uspto.gov. I'm taking a look at the website all the time. There's actually an inventor and entrepreneur resource center, and you can go on there and you can take a look and see all different types of resources, tips, advice, information, events, and all the activity that's going on at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. But Janet, you're back on.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry for the little delay there. So what's happening at the USPTO? Well, two things we want to talk about tonight. We're listening to you, and we're also developing training for you. What is We're Listening? The USPTO has a couple of programs that offer free legal help to inventors. One is to file a patent application. The second is if you get a final rejection on your patent application, you may want to appeal to the Patent Trial and Appeal Board, and we offer free legal help with that appeal. To make our free legal help programs, which we call pro bono, better, we want to hear from all of you. So we are collecting your feedback. Brian very helpfully participated in a listening session just a couple weeks ago to tell us his thoughts on what we can do to improve the program, but we want to hear from you. So if any of you have used the program, please consider submitting your written feedback to us using the information and link found on this particular slide. We'll be taking all of the feedback we gather and preparing a report to provide Congress to talk about the well-being of our free legal programs.
And Janet, I wanted to thank you for inviting me to be on the panel. I had a chance to be in Alexandria, Virginia a couple weeks back, and it was great. And representing the inventor community, I've spoken to several people who have been participating and have used the pro bono program, which is free legal service. They help you with filing patents and they pay for it. So it's a really great service. There was a lot of information and feedback, but that I took from the inventor community to be able to pass it in that listening session. So thank you for that opportunity, and hopefully it makes a difference for the inventors and the future inventors that use the program.
You had fantastic comments and suggestions to help make us better. So we really appreciate the input you gave, traveling to Alexandria, and maybe, hint, hint, you'll have me on again to talk about that free legal help in the future.
Okay,
but tonight,
deal.
I want to now go to all of the training programs we have. So get ready, take out your calendars, and begin marking them up. All of our classes to start out that I'm going to talk about tonight are virtual. They're via webinar. You have to register in advance to receive the webinar link. But once you do, you can easily access the training. Our first class is called Trademark Basics. It's an 8-part series. Each part talks about a different aspect of protecting a trademark. It starts with the basic definitions and it takes you all the way through the process of filing. Our first class is July 11th. So I'd really encourage you to attend if you think that trademark protection can help your business interest.
And by the way, some of us might have heard the word trademark or might have heard the term, but let's say you come up with a really good name for your product. You might want to trademark it. There's other reasons to use a trademark, but that's one of them. So if you're interested, definitely sign up for some of these webinars, especially the trademark one. It's interesting. I've listened to one before.
Yeah, and the speakers are really great who present that class.
Yeah.
Similar to the trademark basics, we have a patent basics. It's called Patent to a Patent. It should say Path to a Patent. This too is an 8-part series. It talks about what patent protection is, all the way through how to hire an attorney to represent you and the different nuances of securing a patent. The first class is July 13th. Different from the path to a patent, which is about getting a utility patent on the functional aspects of your invention, we also have training on securing a design patent, which looks at and protects the decorative aspects or the appearance of your invention. We have a 3-part series here along the same lines, talks about what design protection entails and how to secure it. Our first class is right around the corner for it on June 28th. We feature monthly an Inventor Hour webinar series that talks about trademarks, patents, aggregated at the fundamentals level. This session, our next one is June 21st. We're going to talk about trademarks. We're going to talk about obviousness, which is a condition to secure a patent. Moving a little later in July, we're going to talk about that free legal help that I began the program talking about. So this is a session you can tune into on a monthly basis. You don't need to get into a specific series or sequence to watch our Inventor Hour webinars. Finally, we have a series called Successful Inventing. This series has multiple parts. It's offered with some frequency, and the intent is to talk to you about how to take your invention into the marketplace. What do you need to do to build a prototype, to secure licensing, to be successful in selling your invention? The next class of Successful Inventing is on July 19th. And as I mentioned, we have a whole host of other classes that are offered throughout our year. This slide for you features some of those class topics. Searching to see if you have a new invention, resources for inventors. How do you find out about these classes? You can check out our webpage called USPTO Events, the link to which is on this slide. You can see that webpage also on this slide, and there is a calendar. It gives you on a month-by-month basis all of the events that the USPTO is offering. These are, again, all free, all available at your disposal. You simply have to register to attend. This is a link that I would encourage you to bookmark so that you know what's happening any day of the week at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Otherwise, I will be sticking around for the program this evening, and you can feel free to drop them in the chat, or I gave you my email address, janet.gongola@uspto.gov. Feel free to reach out to me at any time with any type of intellectual property question that you have, and I'm happy to try to help you. Thank
Janet,
you for having me.
thank you so much for all the support that you provide to the inventor community. When the members of National Inventor Club visited, it wasn't just I came a couple weeks ago, but in April we had a ton of National Inventor Club members that came and was hosted by you and your colleagues, and you did an amazing job just having us a whole day of events, going to tour the US Patent and Trademark Office, the Inventor Hall of Fame, all the different events that were going on there just throughout the day. It was very well coordinated, and thank you so much for your support to the inventor community and for putting together those slides, which I will include in the app, Inventor Smart Community app, which has National Inventor Club in there. So thank you so much, Janet, for what you do for us.
Fantastic. I'll see you at the end of the program.
See you soon. Thank you. Okay. All right. Let's have Evelyn Wilson. She is one of the newest members of National Inventor Club. Evelyn, if you just unmute yourself and tell us who you are, where you're from, and thank you for being a member of National Inventor Club.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. I'm glad that I am a premium member to the National Inventor Club. My name is Evelyn Wilson. I am in Newcastle, Delaware, and right now I'm in the pre-patent pending status. I'm in the health and beauty aid space, and with 28 years of infection control experience, that is what led to my idea. I didn't really see an infection control section in the store, so I moved it over to the health and beauty aid space. It's less threatening, it's nice, and we're all familiar with it. And I would just like to say that the resources that are offered online and with the USPTO, they are what keep me going in the inventor clubs. So, I'm going to attend every virtual webinar that Janet posted. And I hope that you all can learn from me and I can all learn from you, and we can strengthen our inventor community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Evelyn, did we find you on the app on Inventor Smart Community? Are you in there?
Yes, I've visited a few times.
Excellent. So we have these great meetings every month, but now there's going to be a chance for us to stay connected all together, help each other. There's different chat forums in there. There's resources. There's a glossary for invention terms, a lot of information. So we're looking forward to keeping in touch with you in the Inventor Smart community. Thank you, Evelyn.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Next, let's have Diane Reynolds. We saw her on the Inventor Showcase last month, but let's do a quick intro, Diane, for those of you who are watching who haven't met Diane yet.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm Diane Reynolds, and I was thrilled to do the Inventor Showcase last month. I live in Silver Spring, Maryland, and I was one of the fortunate premium members that went to the USPTO office in April, which was a fabulous experience. I have an invention called Easy Cover, which is an all-in-one cover and storage system. I've been working on it for quite a few years because that's what it takes. You have to be tenacious and you have to keep putting it out there. So I'm very excited about the National Inventor Club. I'm a relatively new member, and I did get the app, and I'm starting to connect with some of the folks in the community, which is really, really a very positive experience. I was a member of a few inventor clubs when I was living on the West Coast, but to be honest, Brian, you've got it. The other ones just never really followed through the way you do. And I just think that this is a great opportunity for folks. If you're looking for a resource, the National Inventor Club would be the way to go. And I'm hoping to find a licensing opportunity for my Easy Cover.
Thank you. And Diane, I see you're pretty active also on the Inventor Smart Community app.
I've been posting recently. I'm starting to follow people and meeting new folks on the app. So it's a very, very positive experience. And I think once it's up and running and you have more people, it's going to be a fabulous app for everybody to join in.
Thank you. I haven't officially announced it yet, so whoever's listening has a chance to go on Inventor Smart Community. You can download it, or you could go to app.inventorsmart.com, and National Inventor Club is rolled up right in there. Soon we're going to live stream on there. So Diane, thank you. Appreciate your engagement and participation as well in the app, and for being a part of National Inventor Club.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, let me see if Pierre didn't make it tonight. Okay, we had Pierre from the Small Business Development Center. I don't see him on. Okay, we'll get him next time. He represents the Farmingdale State College in New York Small Business Development Center, which is a division of the SBA, Small Business Administration. Throughout the country, there is Small Business Development Center resources that are on campuses pretty much close to where you are right now, and they help you with connecting with local resources, possibly for engineering and funding, and they also help with business plans. So definitely try to find your small business development center. You set up an appointment with them. All their services are free. And the other one that I wanted to mention was the PTRC, Patent and Trademark Resource Center. That is a division also of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. There's some offices, there's not many around the country, but you can look up PTRC. And if you're looking to search for your invention, something similar to kind of pull prior art, they help you to do that. They don't necessarily give you an opinion and feedback on your invention, but they do give you a chance to pull prior art to make sure you're working on something that you could call your own and not somebody else's invention. So just keep that in mind. PTRC, Patent and Trademark Resource Center. And again, that's also, you could go to uspto.gov, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office official website. All right, so let's have Michelle Covey and Bob Czechowicz, both from GS1 US. As I mentioned earlier, if you need a barcode, this is where you go, GS1 US. There are companies out there that kind of borrow, or you can rent, or you can buy some of their their barcodes, but it's under their brand. If you come up with an invention and you turn it into a product, or maybe you license your product and it's out there, most likely it's going to have a barcode on it. And that's how the communication between the retailers and you, I know Michelle and Bob will explain it, so I don't want to get too deep just yet, but GS1 US, if you go to gs1us.org, they are the official go-to organization to obtain barcodes. And then you might have heard of GTINs also, and I know that Bob and Michelle will explain it. But just a quick intro on both of them. Michelle actually has been on National Inventor Club. Has it been a year already, Michelle?
It's been about a year, yes.
Wow, that went quick.
I know.
Michelle is the Vice President of Commercialization at GS1 US, where she oversees delivery of programs and services designed to support efficient and accurate GS1 standards implementation for companies of all sizes. So small inventors that need maybe a handful of barcodes, we get them from GS1 US. And Bob is the Senior Director of Innovation and Partnerships at GS1 US, a non-for-profit standards organization that helps administer standards like the US barcode or UPC barcode and GTINs, Global Trade Item Numbers. So both of you, thank you for joining us. This is an interesting topic because we titled it, and thank you, John, for all you do. Your PR guru for GS1 US has put us together. But this is interesting because us as inventors, we're coming up with ideas. And then when we're just about ready to launch, or we just launch it, it's funny. I spoke to this lady, Shelly. She happened to be in Canada. I don't know if you're listening, Shelly. You said you would. Hopefully you made it. But she came up with an amazing product, and they already manufactured it. And now they're coming up with ways to improve it. They just started ways to improve it, to make it better, a little bit of a different way that it's going to work. And look, we're always innovating. We're always coming up with new ideas. We want to improve, whether it's on our own idea or other inventions out there to improve. That's what makes us inventors and innovators. And as a company, being the main organization for barcodes in the world, and GS1 US is a part of that, I'm sure there's always innovation. So hopefully you can help us to understand from an inventor's perspective what happens at a company, and then bring it back to us as inventors, how it could relate to us. So we appreciate both of you being on our meeting tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brian, for having
Thank
us.
you.
We're really excited. And as you introduced us, both Bob and I sit within our innovation and partnerships team. So we work very closely together. I do want to just first of all introduce GS1 and what GS1 does as far as an organization. We are, and you did a good intro. We are a global standards organization. As you mentioned, most people know us for inventing or introducing the UPC barcode to the market. The first barcode was scanned almost 50 years ago. It will be actually celebrating our 50 years next year on a pack of gum in Marsh's grocery store. But that one single beep at the checkout helped supermarkets be able to be innovative then and not have to do a price lookup for checkout and have to key in prices manually. It enabled them to be able to scan a barcode quickly, and it would do a price lookup and a product identification. And so that barcode's been used for 50 years. Right now, about 10 billion barcodes are scanned daily around the world. So this is a global standard that is recognized, anywhere you go. And we learned an interesting fact today on one of our team meetings, Bob and I. We heard that Google searches are only 6 billion. There's only 6 billion Google searches per day. So there are more barcode scans per day than Google searches. I thought that was kind of an interesting little tip that we had. Just to recap too, I know you had me on last year, which was a great time. I think building on the lead in with the patents and the trademark, one of the things that we always talk to our members about is, as you're setting up your product, while trademarks and patents are important, also identifying your product uniquely with the barcode is one of the foundational steps to getting started as well, if you plan on selling your product in market. Even if you think you're going to go online and launch it on Amazon, if anybody has launched a product on Amazon, they do require what they call as a GTIN, which is essentially that global trade item number, the number that is associated to your product that's embedded into that barcode. It's a great way to start. Even if you don't think you're going to need it if your product's going to be in a brick and mortar store, it's always great to start with a barcode on your product, because you never know if it's going to become the next hot item and a major retailer will want to pick you up. So,
Michelle, I'm not sure if you can say this, but I can. I know that just connecting up with retailers, if you end up getting another company's barcode that you're using on your barcode on your product, and it ends up showing up as a different brand name, you could get kicked out of the retailer. So it's important. I'm not sure the pricing. It's been a while since I bought my batch of barcodes, but it's not that I guess it's all relative to what that means to everyone, but you can get your own barcodes. You can get a small batch of 10, I think it is, and then you can assign it. It's really simple to set up. And I know that last time we were on, Michelle, people can take a look at the past events of National Inventor Club to actually have the experience of going through the website and creating your own barcode. But
we launched, even for those small, very small businesses, you could actually even obtain a single GTIN from our site. So you could either get your singles or packs of 10, 20, or 10, 100,000. So, but one of the things with, you would think, okay, the barcode's been around for 50 years, it's on all of our products at the grocery store. But believe it or not, GS1 is an innovative company. We are looking to the future because we do know that technology is changing, and we're starting to see it on many packages of our products. So you'll start seeing, like, there's the linear barcode, but you're also seeing a QR code, and you're seeing another, different QR code, because many retailers or brands are now wanting to engage with their customer. And so we've been innovating with our community in how to condense all of those barcodes into a single 2D barcode, where it still has that product identifier in it, but then you could also have that customer engagement. You could also have nutritionals pulled up on it and that sort of thing. So we're really excited about the future of the barcode, and you'll start to see it changing on products and more into the 2D barcode. We're always innovating. And I think that's why we're here tonight to talk to you about, we've got plenty of information about GS1 and barcodes, but we wanted to talk to you about just our innovative process at GS1, and it's specifically around GS1 US, and like what we do, and maybe others can learn from our processes, and we can just share some tips and how we go about that process.
That'd be great.
Great. I'm going to have Bob kick us off on some of our innovation process, and we'll just kind of have a conversation back and forth.
For sure. Yeah. Thanks, Michelle. And thanks, Brian, for having both of us on here. So as Michelle mentioned, and as was mentioned earlier on this call as well, right? Everything starts with an idea of some sort. And same thing with our team, right? Our team being the innovation team, what we look at is, candidly, a lot of the inventions that people on this call are probably either have already made or will make in the future. And we look to see how those emerging technology and emerging solutions intersect with standards, with our bread and butter. And then we work to make sure that can actually help us remain relevant, right? Our whole goal as a team is to ensure that we've got long-term relevance out there, working alongside industry. So we investigate, we validate, we define, we look at strategic opportunities that we think will be relevant for our key constituents. So as Michelle alluded to, we've got a process, right? So when you think about innovation, at least when we think about it, and it's probably similar to how others think about it as well, there's a lot of brainstorming that happens. And there's probably a misconception out there, not in this group, but maybe outside of this group, that innovation is probably sitting around and just thinking about things and throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And while there is some of that, we've got a really, really detailed process to make sure that we're not just doing that, right? So we make sure that our ideas are not inside out. Like, these are not just things that we think of. So we have a big focus on making sure that we have an outside-in approach to innovation, which really means that we listen. We look for pain points that are out there in the industry from some of our members, and we then go through this process of how might we do something so that we can do something else, right? So that we can help to improve this specific process or this specific issue that is out there. And then it just comes down, candidly, to asking questions. It's a lot of asking questions. It's a lot of validation. And that's something, Brian, that I would assume is very relevant to the inventor community, this notion of asking questions.
Yeah, well, look, for us, we're pretty nervous about just revealing our ideas to people out there just like that. So it is good to get a non-disclosure. I mean, when I come up with an idea and I want to talk about it, I'll go to my friends and family. Sometimes I'll ask them to sign a non-disclosure agreement, which means they're not going to talk about my idea to anybody without my permission. But you might do it a little bit differently from a corporate perspective. But for us, we're nervous and we want to make sure that we do our due diligence before. And look, a lot of times, and I say this to people that I speak to, sometimes when we talk to our friends and family, no matter if our idea is great or it stinks, they're going to tell us how great it is, because they don't want to upset you, and they don't want to burn your relationship. So sometimes it is good to get outside sources, but you have to be real and you have to think about your idea. And you probably do this, Michelle and Bob. You have to think about your idea, not just selfishly for yourselves, but how other people might use it and how they're going to actually feel about it when it comes to fruition.
Yeah, like what Bob said, is sometimes our ideas will come from inside, and then we want to make sure that we're validating it, because it might be great ideas to us internally, but maybe it might not be great for our members, or, so we do like to do that market validation, just to say, is this something that somebody else would like besides just our own team?
Yeah. And Brian, you just hit on something that's really, really key, which is this notion of self-awareness, right? And understanding who you're surrounding yourself with. And if you have a team, if it's you on your own, it's one thing. Talking to your family, as you said, if you're with a team, right? Are you surrounded by people that are just going to say yes to you, as you alluded to in your example there? And candidly, that's something that we had a workshop. The great thing about our team, and as it relates back to the title of this session here, You're Never Done Innovating, right? We're always open to other ideas and bringing in third-party workshop facilitators to help our team out. And one of those sessions that we did in the past, it actually was really helpful, because it made us realize, and it gave us some tools about this notion of being deliberate in your thought process. And what the specific example there is that we had some brainstorming sessions where after this workshop, based on the teachings of the workshop, it said, okay, everybody, here's a couple ideas. Now put your expansive hat on. Like, let's try to keep on building this idea up. So let's get in that yes and mentality of we're not going to say no. We're just going to keep on building it up. It's all going to be positive. And doing that with the knowledge that the next step after that is going to be a reductive session where you're going to kind of maybe strip it down a little bit. So I think that was very helpful to us because sometimes you can get caught in these cycles of, if you're talking to somebody who's having a bad day, maybe they're just going to say, yeah, not the best idea. And the next day they would have said it's a good idea, right? Or you're talking to somebody who's just going to say it's a great idea because they don't want to make you feel bad. So just this deliberate notion of saying, are we in an expansive mode right now where we're going to kind of build something up? Or are we in a reductive mode where we're purposely going to poke holes in something, has been really, really powerful for our ideation and innovation process.
Let me ask you both something. When, as an inventor, and I know I'm kind of speaking on behalf of inventors here, but sometimes we're working on our ideas and we want to get it to perfection. We want it to be exactly, even my app, I didn't want to say it's officially launched or anything else just because I want to still test it. And even my inventions, I want it to be to a certain point before I really make the announcement. What about from a corporate perspective? When you're coming up with an idea, do you have to validate it to a certain point? I mean, you have a lot of people going through your networks and system. So how do you kind of say, press go?
Can I take that one real quick? Because one of the things that we've done, because my team takes a lot of, so I have the commercialization team. So what Bob's team, after they pilot and have all these great ideas, I bring it to market. But one of the things that we started experimenting with was going to market with just an MVP. Like, what is the minimum viable product that we could get to market, start to test it out with our customers. We know it's not exactly at what we would want it to be as perfection, but we thought, well, let's just get it out there and start to get feedback, because we are still early in the cycle and we could incorporate feedback. So that's been very helpful for us. And we've launched a couple of new like APIs and that sort of thing, where we have said it's MVP and you're our first beta customers, give us some feedback. And I think that's been helpful because we're getting great feedback and we're bringing it back into the process to improve. And then it shortens our delivery cycle. So we got it to market a little earlier and we know that we wanted to continue to build on it. And we realized, hey, actually what we delivered wasn't so bad. We don't need to do a lot of changes right away. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Just from our understanding, because I know I mentioned what GS1 US is and what it does, but just thinking about it, and correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe you can take over. But so we go on your website, your database, we set up where we obtain some barcodes. It kind of knows now who is assigned to that barcode, what brand, and also the description of the product. And then we take that information and then we include it on our packaging. And then it's in the retail stores, or it's on Amazon, or it's wherever. And when somebody scans it or orders it, that barcode actually communicates with your database and retailers all over the world.
It actually, not necessarily. So we do have a database of all of the licenses that we administer to our members. So whether it's the packs or even the single G10s, there is a limited set of product information, just the core basic brand, product description that could be associated to that. That database can be looked up by retailers, so it's not at that point of sale, like so that every time you see something at a grocery store go beep. It's up to the retailer, if they want to validate that product is associated to the brand. They could, once they receive it, or once the seller is trying to list it on their marketplace, for example, they can validate it in our database. It's called, we have a GPIR database that even you and I could, you have a barcode, you want to like see if it's associated to the brand owner, you could type in the UPC number and it'll bring out the actual owner for it.
Very interesting. And then now you're talking about the 2D that has more information on it to be able to that just like a QR code. Very
Well, and
interesting.
this is where we had to be innovative. Is there's a lot of legislation out there that people need to track food and medical devices through the supply chain. And so on that barcode, not only did you have to have the UPC, but we also had to include like expiry dates and batch lot dates. So we had to figure out a new way to like include more information in a barcode, and that small little linear barcode didn't do it. So
very interesting.
Yeah.
So we come up with ideas all the time, inventors that are listening and watching, and we think that our idea is the greatest thing that anybody's come up with. And from a corporate perspective also, you have to keep innovating and you're coming up with ideas. So what do you think makes a great idea, a great idea, a good idea, a good idea, or not such a good idea?
I think that it kind of goes back to what we said earlier, sort of stepping out of your own shoes and putting yourself in someone else's shoes to understand, okay, how is this going to benefit them? What is the true impact that this idea could have? And candidly, what problem is it solving, right? So we talk a lot about emerging technology, as I was saying before, and there's no lack of really cool things that are out there, but where the rubber meets the road is really the use cases. Like, how is this going to be applied? How is somebody can actually use this, right? So if you think about even something as, generative AI is the hottest thing right now. It's the biggest buzzword. ChatGPT and all these other tools that are out there. But I think what's interesting is a lot of people are using it to create poems, right? So I think that the which is fun, don't get me wrong, but the real use cases are still being developed. And that's where candidly these ideas go from good to potentially great and potentially breakthrough, right? When there's some use cases that are applicable, not just to one industry, but maybe to multiple industries.
Interesting.
It's trying to solve for a pain point that may not have existed there before.
So you end up putting it out, and you go live with one of your updates or one of your activities. Do most of them come from inside your company? Look, as inventors, sometimes we look to license our intellectual property, our patent, or our product, and we look to see if there's companies, and I'm not talking about marketing companies, I'm talking about companies that if you go into a retail store, they're the ones that have product on the shelf. So we would call them up and see if they'd be interested in adding our product to their product line and possibly earning a royalty from them. So some of those companies have ways, especially the larger ones, have ways for us to submit ideas to their companies. And evaluate our idea to see if it's something that they'd be interested in adding. What about GS1 US? I know it's not necessarily a physical product company. I guess a barcode could be, but how do you take outside innovation? And maybe you can share, because you work with companies all over the world. I know you're focused on the US and you're working with retailers in the US. Maybe you can give us some opinion, advice, and feedback on what we should do as inventors.
So I think my advice there, and I'm sure Michelle can chime in on some of this as well, but my advice is setting yourself up with an infrastructure of sorts, right, to be able to listen to what is going on out there, and to have signals kind of come to you, right? So we attend a lot of events. We speak at a lot of events like a lot of sessions like this. So I think just what I'm attempting to say is putting yourself out there, putting yourself out in front of other industry leaders to try to then be able to hear what they're saying and hear what they're working on. And to Michelle's point earlier, what their pain points are. We've got some official ways within GS1 US that we work directly with industry through our community engagement team, and several regular meetings that happen to engage with them for us to share what we're working on and for them to share what some of those pain points are. And then we've got some more informal, official, but still informal ways, which goes back to what I was saying earlier. We get out there to a lot of technology conferences. That's candidly where we engage with the startup community the most, is when we go to these events, and when we see an exhibitor, we'll just go talk to them, right? We'll listen for their elevator pitch, we'll give our pitch, and we look to identify opportunities. And then one other way that we engage the startup community specifically is we just held it actually. We held our 5th annual Startup Lab Pitch Competition as part of our GS1 Connect annual user conference, where we got the most applications ever for us, which was over 50 applications from startups that have a solution that has some sort of relevance to the GS1 US community. We whittle that down to the top 8, and then they come and pitch live on stage. This year was in Denver. And the pitch competition is great. But what's really great about it is these companies now become part of our community, and they interact with other attendees at the show, which brings me back to that same point of getting out there and talking to people and just trying to listen to what those pain points are.
Yeah, it's a sense of community. It's like we're all trying to help solve for the same problem. And I think that's part of, we're unique because we have a standard. We're a standards organization, and we're trying to provide standards that help businesses interact more efficiently. And so we sit in a different space without that product. But ours is all about community and hearing what the community is, what do they need? Where is technology changing, and how can standards help it? And so those are where we get a lot of our ideas.
And you mentioned where you're pretty active in expos and trade shows and getting out there. For us as inventors, being able to there's a lot of trade shows in practically every industry that you could think of. And we want to be able to try to find where they are. And sometimes they let us in, or sometimes they don't. You have to sometimes be within the industry or part of the industry. But there are many that offer inventors to come and be guests at the trade shows. And we can go around, and sometimes you could just call up and say that you're interested in exhibiting next year, and they'll give you a free pass to go through and check it out. I wanted to also let everybody know that next month, I've landed another amazing guest. He is the president of, his name is Derek. He's the president of the Inspired Home Show, formerly known as the National Houseware Show, International Houseware Show. And now it's Inspired Home Show. And it's one of the largest shows in the country. And he's going to be on next month talking about how important it is just in general to be out there and get involved with trade shows, but also the benefits of being part of the trade show and his trade show. So it's good stuff.
Yeah. And Brian, just another, since you had a plug there, I'll give a plug as well. Our team is going to be at the Small Business Expo in New York City this Friday. So if anybody happens to be in that area, come stop by our booth at that show, and we'll have some small business experts talking to the attendees there.
Thank you. And look, there's trade shows and different business expos in your area. You don't have to necessarily come to New York City. So definitely take a look, get involved. I mentioned earlier, Small Business Development Center, Small Business Administration. I'm pretty active with SCORE, which is Mentors for Businesses. That is also a part of the Small Business Administration. There's so many resources that are available to us. And as inventors, we can use them to benefit, almost like strategy. I know some of us, we want to just get through the beginning parts of it where we're coming up with the idea and we have to go through some of the patent work, make sure it's our own idea, not somebody else's, and doing patent searches and working with possibly an engineer or industrial designer and prototyping and getting it to a point where we're looking to manufacture a license and then to hopefully see our idea out there in the market. For you both, Bob and Michelle, you've kind of gone through the way that you innovate when you're going through and bringing a new product or service to market. Maybe if you could just kind of go through when you do have that idea to where it's commercialized, what does that kind of look like, summarized just through the steps?
You want to talk about our pilot process?
Yeah, I can start. I'll start, and then as we do at work every day, I'll hand it off to you when we get to when your team kicks in. So, and this is a sunny day scenario, right? It doesn't always go in this linear kind of fashion, but typically there's a pain point that's identified, and that comes in a variety of ways. Either at an event, we're talking to somebody, we hear it from our industry partners, et cetera. But regardless, something comes up where we feel the need to ideate on something. and get into this notion of, as I said before, how might we do something so that we can do something else? Ultimately, the goal of my team is to come up with a hypothesis. What are we trying to prove? The way that we get to that hypothesis point is through ideation and a process of discovery, which is really validation, right? So it's talking to people, reaching out to people that we know, people that we don't know, and asking them, does this pain point make sense, right? Is this something that you're dealing with as well? And candidly, that actually helps us to sometimes expand on the hypothesis or contract the hypothesis based on what we're hearing. So we're really, really big on what we call voice of industry, which you could just translate to, what are your customers really saying, right? What's important to them? So that ideation process, discovery process, ultimately will lead us to a hypothesis, which will then lead us to seek out some partners to help us try to prove this out. Our pilots typically are best when it's not just us doing it, right? It's us actually working with a customer in the field, whether that's a retail store or a warehouse, right? Somewhere within their supply chain. And then we work to actually prove it or candidly disprove it. And we learn from it either way. And before I hand it off to Michelle for the commercialization aspect of this whole process, I did want to mention one thing, which is this notion of, we're not afraid to say we're going to stop this, right? Throughout that whole process I mentioned, we might realize that, you know what, this isn't what we thought it is, or can't find a partner. Let's just stop it. And what we've learned, which makes total sense when you think through it, the earlier you stop something, the less money it's going to cost you, obviously. So,
you know what, Bob, on that point, there's so many inventors that I speak to, and sometimes I help them to realize that they may not necessarily should continue working on their idea, and that's okay. You'll come up with the next one, but is it better to put your time, money, energy, effort into that idea and go in a big circle and end up where you are? Look, realistically, you might not have found it when you were looking for it, or you might not have looked at close enough. But if there's something pretty much the same thing as yours out there, and it's somebody else's intellectual property, or it's in the public domain, then you might want to consider moving on to the next idea, or you just compete against what's already existing as long as you're not infringing. So
we feel comfortable failing fast, like
failing fast.
Yeah. You know, it helps just the process. You don't, like Bob said, you don't spend money and time and resources, and it allows you to move on the next idea quicker.
Definitely. Yeah. In one of our initial meetings that we had before we went live tonight, you were speaking, and actually Mark Randolph, the founder of Netflix, I know that you had some interesting pain points from him.
Yeah. You go, Bob.
Okay. He was a keynote speaker at that GS1 Connect that I just mentioned a few weeks ago in Denver. And he just talked a lot about his story and the story of Netflix. And, to sum it up, it really was just this notion of pain points, right? What are those things out there that just, in his case, just annoy you, right? Or just kind of make you feel like this can be better, right? So that's a simplification of a really great keynote, but that was the kind of the gist of it all. And on that point of failure, as Michelle mentioned, fail fast. The one thing that we're really keen on is that if we do stop something, that's not the end of it, in the sense that there's learnings to document from that failure, which can then be used, Brian, to your point, in your next idea, right? So it's all this iterative process where failure is actually part of it, right? So back to the linear ideation, discovery, validation, et cetera, and we get to the point of a pilot. And then throughout the whole process, our teams, the innovation and the commercialization teams, are working side by side because we think of it not as a handoff. It's more of a passing of the baton. So there's a time when my team's running with it, and then there's a time when Michelle's team is holding on to it as we're still running with it, and we're both holding it at the same time. And then we hand it over to the commercialization team. So it's not just like, okay, we're done with it, you got it. There's a collaboration, there's a partnership there. So
very interesting.
And as his team is working on the pilots, if the pilots are starting to prove out to be successful, and we're like, hey, we think we've got something here, we think that this could actually benefit our members or be something we want to implement, my team picks it up and starts to go a little bit deeper into the market validation and starts to get ready for just go to market. So all the things that you need to do, like if you're launching a product, like what would our marketing message be? like we don't have a package or product, but like, this is where you would start to talk about patents and, if others, in a physical product, but, how do we start to, package it? How do we market it? Which channels do we want to market in? Who are we marketing it to? And then, how do we launch it? And, how do we support it? All of the different things. So we start talking about all of that because, you have a great idea, but then you also have to be able to launch it and support it afterwards.
And also the messaging. The messaging on the packaging has to be important. And I look at a lot of packaging that's very text heavy, even some of the other things that you go on and you try to figure something out, and it's just so much information that you lose people's interest. And you're all involved in the retail world, being part of GS1 US, and your barcodes and UPCs are on all products out there. And I'm sure you see all the packaging with your information. It's got to be quick. And that's what you're talking about with marketing and getting the message across right away. I just want to, I'd like to get your words of wisdom from for the inventor community out there watching and listening tonight. In the meantime, those of you who are on the live stream on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube, and I think we're on Twitter and Twitch, all these different platforms. If there's any questions that you have that you'd like to have Michelle and Bob answer, please put them in. I see that. I appreciate all the activity and engagement that's going on. Aaron and Susan, thank you so much for all your comments throughout the meeting. If you have questions about GS1 US, about barcodes, about innovation, these are the experts here that are leading one of the biggest companies that we need when we bring a product to market, whether we have our own product that we're bringing or we end up licensing it, and those companies, the licensee, the manufacturer, has our product and puts a barcode on it. So please, any questions, just put it through. I know that it's way further up when we first started that you were asking, if you want to put them down so I don't have to really hunt for them. But any final words of wisdom, Michelle and Bob? Maybe we'll give you both a chance to talk. Look, the inventors that are listening here, we're at all stages. We could have an idea in our head, and Bob, like you said before, we're in the brainstorming session. Maybe we're part of the ideation stage where we're just bringing it out and trying to figure out how it's going to look and work and function, the materials. Maybe it's even further than that. We're at that fork in the road. Maybe we're thinking about starting our own business and manufacturing and then going to GS1 US for a barcode, or maybe licensing to earn royalties. Maybe you can help us with some words of wisdom from your experience.
So I think, well, mine's just on the launching of the product because that's my expertise. I'll let Bob talk about the innovation type of words of expertise. But, we always talk about when you go to launch a product, especially if it's for sale in a retail channel of any sort, even if it's an online marketplace channel, even if you don't think you're going to need a barcode, we always say to start off with product identification because it does help you grow your business and it will grow it quickly if you already have it marked, so that if it gets picked up, you can easily move it into a Walmart or a Target or whatever retail chain you want. So that's one of my words of wisdom, at least on a go to market. Bob might have. We talked about them on the innovation side, but I think we've got.
Yeah, I mean the thing that I would share. And at the risk of sharing a cliched quote, but I think it's relevant to what you just talked about, is the Wayne Gretzky quote, "Skate to where the puck is going," right? And that kind of goes back to what Michelle just talked about, this notion of plan out where you might go, plan out where your business might go, get these things set up the right way the first time with room to grow, right? So when you talked earlier about the ability to license out 1 or license out 10 or 100, don't think about how many products in that example of what you have right now. Think of where you might go and just get those ready up front. So I think this notion of scalability and just planning for your success, right? Your confident success in the future is really a great thing to do.
Thank you very much. It's just about the 9 o'clock Eastern, And I know that there's many of the premium members that we're going to have an after meeting networking event where we meet on Zoom and we all collaborate and talk about our ideas and helping each other. And we talk about the meeting this evening. So just hang tight. We'll be in there in a few minutes. I just want to see if there's a couple other questions that we can have Michelle and Bob answer. So Joe is asking, how much do they work with internal inventory barcodes for small businesses?
So some companies will do an internal or proprietary barcode. They're usually called a SKU. But actually, if you put a barcode on your product, it could be used in all parts of the supply chain. So it would be used for tracking in your inventory as far as how many products you have. That barcode helps with your inventory control, as well as identifying it through the retail chain, the whole supply chain, from point of manufacturer through all of your logistics, changing places and warehouses, distribution out to the retail shelf. So that barcode helps you track it from source to consumer.
Thank you. I think this might be somebody who you might want to consider some outside innovation. But Bob, Michelle, what would you say if I told you that I know how to recreate your barcode with even higher content on board?
I would say email us at innovation@gs1us.org.
Okay.
There you go.
You got a bunch of innovators here, so they're going to come up with something. And I think I have a special guest here. My brother is asking, how will AI affect the barcode process?
Yeah, I don't know how much time we have, but there's a lot to talk about there. I'll just try to summarize it really quickly. When you think about AI and computer vision, and a barcode works because a machine can read it, right? Because it can scan it. There's really, really amazing technology now that can identify something just based on using your phone's camera, right? But I think that the key is you still need underlying data, right, within that technology to make sure that what it thinks it is, it actually is. And then when you get into the point of serialization, right, barcodes are still the driving power behind not just saying that this is a can of Pepsi, but this is this specific can of Pepsi or can of Coke or whoever it might be. So yeah, AI is definitely very, very impactful to us.
Sounds like you have more, but
we've got a lot more. Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah.
All right. Vicky is asking Michelle, hi, Michelle, what's your advice for those of us who have thousands of cartons and packaging already printed without barcodes? Is there a way to stick on those? Thank you.
You can. So of course, we always say when you start to launch a product, think about that barcode on your product packaging and the artwork with your product packaging. But if you've already got your packaging on your product and you didn't put that barcode, you can put barcodes on stickers and then apply the stickers. It's just a little bit more manual. But then I would say once you get through that whole stock, think about putting it on your package so it makes it a little less work.
Thank you. I didn't fully read this, but Susan, the taking on the IBM mainframe so it could be used as a personal device which could travel around comfortably with individuals proved to be successful worldwide. Interesting comment. Let's
Probably
see.
like having a phone in your pocket means you're walking around with a mini mainframe in your pocket. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you, Michelle. Susan, thank you. All right. I think we're good. I feel like we have a good understanding of what GS1 US is about and the innovation and the process of innovation within GS1 US and how we can relate it to the invention, kind of like the product inventors that are out there. There's app inventors and there's all different types of industries that we're involved with as inventors and people who are part of National Inventor Club here. So we very much appreciate you joining us and giving us your insights to what's happening at GS1 US and where can we find out more information about GS1 US. And I just want to say also that I've led, and I'm proud to have led many inventors to manufacturing their inventions, the idea in their head all the way to having a finished product and then directing them to GS1 US. And your staff is amazing. I mean, very warm and supportive. We could have been the biggest company, or we're just getting started, and your team just kind of walks us through the steps and helps us with whatever we need. So I think whoever it was that mentioned about the stick-ons of barcodes, and like, they're there to help you. It's been a little bit of a while, but I know that I've personally called. But there's people that are using your services, and you're very supportive to the inventor community, so we appreciate it.
Yeah, we do have an amazing member support team in Dayton, Ohio, so I'll give them a little shout out. Woohoo! But our website is www.gs1us.org. But we also have a lot of information out on YouTube. So we do have our own YouTube channel. So if anybody wants to, geek out on standards, we've got a lot of small videos that can help explain what is a GTIN, what is a barcode, how are they used in supply chain, how are barcodes used on Amazon. We've got a ton of information out on our YouTube channel. And then we also have the next level supply chain podcast, where we talk about very interesting topics all over the board around supply chain and or just business in general. It seems like we're going all over the board now, but it's really interesting, not all just about standards, but just like trends in the industry, and just some great guest speakers. So if you are a podcast person, again, look for the Next Level Supply Chain podcast.
Excellent. Anything else, Bob? Any final words?
I think Michelle did a great job of summarizing where to find us. We're out there, so reach out.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, thank you again. GS1US.org. You can go to their website and check them out. And thank you both for being a guest. Michelle, great seeing you again. And we'll keep in touch. And I'm really excited. I'm going to be on GS1 US's podcast coming up next month. So I get to share some inventor experiences of using your services and how to commercialize your invention. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you for inviting me on your show.
Thanks for having us here.
Thank you. All right. We will keep in touch. Thank you again, Michelle. And thank you, everybody, for joining us on National Inventor Club. This concludes the June 2023 event. And again, I'd love to see you and keep in touch. And I know the other members that are in the app, Inventor Smart Community, you can download it on the App Store or the Google Play Store, or you can do app.inventorsmart.com. I'd love to see you on there and continue our conversation. Until then, enjoy your summer, the start of the summer, and keep working on your inventions so we can talk about them and we can show them off in the app and on National Inventor Club in the next upcoming Inventor Showcase. Thank you and have a great night from National Inventor Club. We'll see you again very soon. Thank you. Oh, and very quickly, those of you who are still listening or watching and you're a member, you should have received the Zoom link to the after meeting networking. So I'll see you there. Thank you.